All right, we're streaming. We're streaming, people. Retweets are appreciated.
Retweeting now.
Um,
Wig and wine. What? Wait, what? Wig and Wine Wednesday? I don't get it. Today's Thursday.
What is that? I don't even know what that is. That's
I don't
weird.
know. What are you guys talking about?
On PHP Ugly Twitter. Let me retweet and then I'll switch over and delete that one. I don't know what that is. That's the weirdest thing.
There's no link, but it's weird. Road to DLive 2K and Twitch affiliate. Are you just retweeting or tweeting out some stream of something?
I don't know what that is. Maybe they've changed something with. I mean, I turned off on Restream. I turned off the custom notification that had previously been checked.
It's just weird that it's exactly the same time you did the live stream.
Yeah, that was
anyway
strange.
It's a Bachelor-based web stream, like the show.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that next week as well. See if something funky happens. All right, let's kick this off.
You think Restream is screwing up somehow?
Yeah, I think Restream hijacked that or something. Thomas, why don't you start us off this week? I've been doing it for like the last 2 months. Episode 186.
You're listening to episode 186 of PHP Ugly. I'm your host, Tom Rideout. With me, as always, is John Congdon.
That's me. I'm not always with you. Liar!
And Eric Van Johnson.
Hello, hello. See, did I do that right? Who does the hello, hello? Somebody.
We trade off.
I would never. I would never say something like that.
I'm pimping my Laravel News swag, or not swag. I paid for it, but my Laravel News T-shirt. In honor of the fact that I'm not gonna see my friend Eric Burns this year, so I'm rocking his T-shirt. How's everybody doing? Is everybody holding up?
Society is collapsing. Facebook is bad today.
Yeah.
What was bad today?
Facebook.
Facebook is bad every day. What are you talking about?
It's been especially bad today. Yesterday was in Wisconsin, I think. People blockaded the entrance to a medical center, not realizing that the organization of the event was done by the Proud Boys. So you just had a bunch of random wackos showing up at a Nazi rally, essentially.
What was the thought process behind? I don't want to get into this. This is grumpy. I don't care.
Today, people are coming out of the woodwork on Facebook and saying that all this stay-at-home orders are unconstitutional and it's not fair, and who cares if 10% of the people die? They're the weak ones, and it's bizarre.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I've seen that today.
Oh my gosh,
it's terrible.
Oh man.
Okay, it was in Michigan, not Wisconsin.
Oh jeez.
It's just as bad as Congressman or Rush Limbaugh, I think, and some other people saying, "I'd rather get the economy back than it's okay to lose lives as long as you get the economy back."
It's worth risking lives to get the economy
right.
Going. Yeah, it's idiots.
All right.
The whole situation's bizarre. I'm off Facebook for 24 hours, self-imposed quarantine.
Yeah, I've been off it for weeks, man. It gets easier, trust me.
I mean, watching my family, some of the things that they say, it's just like, all right, I really need to stop.
John,
sure.
I have to blame you, man. You had me on Amazon today looking at keganators.
Oh yeah,
Me too.
kegerators.
Yeah, the full like refrigerator ones. It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I could like get a whole keg in there, and
Well, and like entry level is like $300,
I
which
know.
isn't bad.
Well, but the thing that
Or-
John has is like
or
$30.
Free.
Oh, is it free?
Well,
It's
so
free. You just gotta
yeah,
buy-
John's
You buy the
was.
beer.
Uh,
But that's because you get pigeonholed into buying 2-liter bottles of beer through their system.
I want to
No, well,
see. Now you're in this company Slack, Thomas. So I know you've seen it. There's the little group of them. Him and David. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have said his name. I did though. There's two people in DiegoDev that have these now, and they're already starting to figure out like little hacks and ways around finding all the little websites that show how you can kind of fill it without buying the proprietary beer thing. So yeah,
Yeah, no, they've got all these little tips and tricks. I saw somebody talking about trying out the breakfast stout at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, it's fun. Man, I tell you what, I assume John is in the same boat with me because it seems like we've been in meetings nonstop. But I honestly feel like the last week or two, we have worked harder than we've ever worked for less money since starting the company. Like this is the hardest we've ever worked for little money that we're bringing in. If that makes sense.
gosh, you're not kidding.
Oh, man, and so many meetings now. It's like everybody wants to hear, or I don't know if it's the quarantining or what it is, but everybody wants to have meetings. Everybody wants to get in these.
It's just lonely.
conversations. Might be. I don't know. But I'm coding.
Possible. Eric, I was out your way yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
I passed by Garden Street and all.
Garden Road. Nice.
We had to make an outing. Go to the pharmacy. Made a stop at Lowe's to pick up an order, and since it's right there, my wife found somewhere way out in the 67, out in Ramona Grasslands Preserve. It's open. They just, all the county parks have closed parking, so you can't park there. They really want it to be limited to people in the area. Mm-hmm. So we decided we're gonna take the boys out there, let them do some bike riding on a trail. It was dead. We saw maybe 6 people the entire time we're out there. As we get out of the car and we're walking towards the fence, somebody stops on a 60-mile-an-hour road, stops, honks a horn at us, and says, "I'm calling the cops." I'm calling the cops on you. I just turned, looked at her, smiled, and gave her a thumbs up, and then just turned and walked away.
Man, that vegetable diet's really chilled you out a lot.
Well, it was.
I've got my kids with me. What am I going to say? I'm not going to yell at her.
It was published in the local paper today that San Diego sheriff they have started writing citations, but I think that's really for like the beach, and I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. I'm tired of it.
I just thought it's just funny.
It was funny, actually.
It's one of those things. Like if we got there and we saw 15 people in the parking lot, we would have turned and left. It's literally no one there. Let the kids stretch their legs a little bit.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So I have finally achieved something I've been looking forward to for a while. As much as you've listened to me rave about NoSQL and CouchDB on the show, we finally have a project where we're planning on using it. And I spent the last week getting refamiliarizing myself with CouchDB, actually expanding my knowledge a lot about how to use it in a production environment and some of the caveats to it. And I tell you, man, I'm quickly falling back in love with it. It really, it's nice because it has you think of data differently, which is occasionally fun to do. I mean, it's, it really is like, it adds a new dimension to coding and to how you're storing data. And so lifting that barrier of having to have like a schema constraint on data and just saying, okay, I'm just going to create this database that I'm going to put these documents in, and I don't care what's in these documents, as I'm going to look for certain data. So to get things going and to kind of refamiliarized myself with Couch, I actually implemented CouchDB. So I started hitting a bunch of feeds, a PHP Ugly feed, our SDPHP feed, our company's blog feed, and I started pulling in that stuff because I needed data to work with. And I started iterating through it all and figuring out, what the best way to store it was and how to access it. It's been so much fun. I gotta say, it's been so much fun. So now it's like I have a database for PHP Ugly, and I have our show feeds in there, but technically I could put anything I want in there. Now I'm actually I redid the DiegoDev website last weekend, and I implemented CouchDB. So if you actually go to DiegoDev.com and you scroll down, you'll see a couple things. You'll see our latest blog posts, our latest PHP Ugly podcast, and the upcoming SDPHP meetup. All that's being fed from CouchDB, and it's actually really cool. I mean, it just really has you think about your data and how you use it. So like the what are you laughing about?
Well, I was going to say, you've got a picture of John on there with very dark hair, and I'm just doing the left-right comparison right now.
on our
something
company
happened
website?
recently. Yeah.
Oh, the one of him and I standing in Chicago?
Yeah. But then I noticed that I'm still listed as part of the team.
Absolutely. I have you on there as a podcaster, man.
I'm a podcaster.
That's right. You're right under Emily, our ambassador and herder of cats. So
I like this. I like this look.
You like that? Yeah, that's all Tailwind. It's all was all upgraded over the weekend, and it's like there's some dynamic things to it. So all the blog posts and stuff are being cached, but like in 10 minutes if you refresh it, the third blog post I actually just pushed like an hour ago. So it pulls down the two recent blog posts, which were from 2018. So I guess we need to do a new blog post. But the third blog post is just like a random blog post that it pulls in to kind of give some more visibility to it. But it was cool to go through it and see how this data was coming into the database. And then this started tying together some other like patterns that I enjoy, like my repository pattern that I'm always harping about. I was able to write repositories for each feed, and then I set up basically how you communicate to the database. So if I need to add data to it, everything's already defined in the repository, so there's not a bunch of weirdness to it.
Did you continue using that sushi? Because we were having problems with that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. So the one thing that did happen, and John and I probably spent a good amount of time debugging it, but a few shows ago we had the discussion around sushi and how sushi is a Laravel package that's touted as being the missing array driver or something like that, where it was designed so that you could define arrays in your models and you didn't have to talk to a database. But the Porzio, the creator of Sushi, also realized that you could talk to a JSON endpoint and feed that into Sushi and let that be a model as well. And the benefit to it is it's an eloquent model. So once you pull it in through Sushi, you have all your eloquent functionality associated with it. So Caporzio came, did a talk at SDPHP. I spoke to him a little bit because it was, again, John's idea when we talked about it of, well, isn't everything isn't everything that Couch does, isn't that all JSON? I'm like, yeah, it is. So I had talked to Caporzio because it wasn't working against a Couch database. He gave me some ideas, and I got it working. And I was actually very excited about that. We talked about it on the show. So I was able to pull in a database from a Couch database server and pull it in through Sushi and have the model. Well, I went into this project thinking I was just going to do that. And I couldn't. I was getting these error messages. I'm like, I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. So John and I did some pair programming on it. It was a really weird error message. And we started debugging it. And I guess a long story short, it looks like it's a Sushi issue. And it's actually one that I want to go back to and see if I can actually contribute to the project to fix it. But what we discovered, which I didn't realize, or what it appears to be, I didn't really confirm this, but it appears that Sushi actually creates a in-memory NoSQL database when you
using SQLite, right?
Right,
Ooh.
SQLite. Yeah, you're right. Not NoSQL. It was a SQLite in-memory SQLite database.
That's rough.
And one of the feeds, do you remember what feed we're working on? Was it the podcast or was it the blog post? I think it was the blog post.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
One of the feeds we're working on, I think it was the blog post. It was the blog post because it had the big description and the big story. So it had the blocks of data, and there was something about those blocks of data that SQLite didn't like. And it was choke in SQLite. So
it's got to be the amount of text.
I think you're right.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I bet you it is. I bet you there is some sort of limitation on the amount of text that can be stored in a SQLite column. So yeah. So John and I found a little bug in Sushi, and I ended up having to scratch that, and it really didn't impact me too much because, I'm still like making stuff a collection and having some of the functionality I would have in Eloquent where like I could do a first and that sort of thing. So it's been fun. And then on top of that, one of our clients, we get into a meeting with one of our clients, and he became like a convert. He's now wanting Couch, in existing applications he has. So
what happened with the replication? You're having trouble with that last night too. Trying to get continuous replication going.
Yeah, we got it. So it turns out that if you're interested, there's two kind of replication stores. There's back in the day when I was first doing this, there was only like one sort of replication store, and that syntax I was using is how you initiated it. Well, there's now another replicator. So where I had replicate in that URL call, that should have been replicator. So TOR. And that actually fixed it. So my the David, the developer I'm working with on this, it's been fun. We've been getting together every day and just kind of going through it and saying, just figuring out different things, like how we're indexing things and how you pull out certain data. The replication was a big thing because we're looking to automate a lot of this process. And this is one of the nice things, like everything you do through the browser, you can do from the command line just using a curl request. It's amazing. I mean, it's just so crazy powerful. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's basically been my week. I've enjoyed it.
I got a question for you. When are unit tests pointless?
That's a great question. When are you? I think when you're trying to get work done.
Let's see how that works out for you.
When you write the test to confirm the code is doing what you told it to do.
But
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean, but
I don't.
I wrote code. I then wrote tests for it. Test passed. I'm happy. There's a logic error in the code. So because I didn't think of the tests previously and write the test first to get the edge cases and get everything figured out, I wrote the test to make the test pass when the code wasn't correct, basically. So it's just another notch for doing test-driven development. Think about your use case, your edge case first. Think about your inputs, your outputs, what you expect, and then write the code to make those pass versus assuming your code is good and writing the tests for that.
yeah, that's always the risk of testing, is that testing is really just knowing what the edge cases are going to be before they happen,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that those edge cases are handled. But when another edge case comes up that you didn't think of, good luck.
So let me ask you a question, Thomas. And John, feel free to pipe in here, but we've had this discussion. When do you worry about edge cases? When you're coding, when you're starting a fresh project, when you start a fresh project and you're getting ready to lay down your first code, when do you start to worry about edge cases? When do you have to figure that out before you do your next line of code?
That's all I do.
Really?
If you're good, you do it the entire time.
I mean, that's what I would define as wisdom.
Hmm.
For me, to put it in D&D terms, intel is knowing how to write the code. Wisdom is knowing where it's going to go wrong before you even run it.
Hmm.
I've seen 20 years of cases on the web where stuff breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have that in my head when I write. I don't think about writing parameterized queries. I just write parameterized queries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about input sanitization. I just sanitize all my input. So it's part of the process of writing the line of code. Now, caching is the thing I think of last. So when it comes to the final sweep of the code before it goes out into production, that's where I'm writing my caching checks. But I'm not looking for any edge cases at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got all my edge cases handled, hopefully, by then.
Interesting.
You're still not actively writing tests, are you?
I'm still not. We don't have a great barrier between our controllers and our business logic, which makes writing tests difficult to start with. And then we have such a fast rollout time for all of our stuff. We have so much stuff backlogged that we can't get to it.
That's one of the things I'm loving about the newer versions of PHP is having all the type hinting and return types. I've really been loving that. Recently, I rewatched Andrew Casel's what was it? The using blank drew a blank.
You're so good at this.
Yeah, this is horrible. I just you're not making it any better. Immutability to save and never change it. Oh, wow, that was brutal. So using val objects, immutable objects, and then type hinting on those, so you get good data, and then having these classes that are super testable. I've really been enjoying that lately.
Yeah,
And
I'm on board with that.
That
Yeah.
goes along the lines of we talked about on that other client project is let's write the tests, write the classes first before defining the database schema. I think we touched on that last week, though.
Yeah, we still have to do that. Actually, I want to see that process, but yeah, and you even I forget what I was coding, but you corrected course on me as well as far as breaking down something so it was more testable. I forget what that was, but yeah, it's been fun. So I got a question now. With the recent release of Laravel, 7.6? Sorry, Thomas. You're up to date, right?
Oh boy, do I have a story for you.
With the recent release of Laravel 7.6, and I've already seen this, and it's been in the back of my mind. Every time I do a composer require now on a project, I wonder if I'm crippling that project because of upgrade path issues. So, as fast as Laravel moves, it's become very clear that the package developers for Laravel package developers, they're not Laravel specific packages. Any package can be installed in Laravel, but the ones that are dependent on the version of Laravel specifically, they're not being upgraded as quickly as Laravel. Now, with Simver, it doesn't seem to be impacting it as much. I have to say, from the beginning of 7 on through, any package I put on a project hasn't broke yet, but I had a lot of pain upgrading Laravel 6 projects to 7 because not of any fault of Laravel, but because of the packages that it depends on. So, do you guys have any rules on when you use a package, when you develop it yourself, and do you have any concerns about being overly dependent on packages when doing a project?
I am no longer using Laravel specific packages, and if I want that functionality, I'll write my own service provider.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I mean, really, it really is not a terrible idea.
No, it's terrible that I have to do it, but
No, it's not. I mean,
so you're talking about any middle library? Like, there's a library you want to use, and then they make a Laravel specific one that's supposed to make it super easy to work in Laravel. Is that what you're saying you don't use?
that's what everybody does. Everybody's just writing a small wrapper for an existing larger project that all it does is create a service provider. Anytime I see stuff for Laravel, that's what it's doing. Like the most complicated thing I would see would be a driver for a different search provider or a driver for a different mail provider. But that's still using an existing code base from somewhere else and just throwing a service provider on it. Maybe, checking the contracts and adhering to it.
Right. Well,
that's not hard.
And that was going to be my question, though. So you feel like developing those yourself, and that you would be able to handle the upgrade path easier because you know what code's there, you know it's actually dependent on. I mean, what's the thought there?
Right, because the stuff that these packages are dependent on don't change between versions. The things that change between versions are added functionality, security fixes, a new proprietary tech, something like that, the way route caching is handled, et cetera, et cetera. But there's very few things out there that I can think of besides like the debug bar and the error handling pages that really change with the versions. Everything else is just.
Well, the routes
Tweaks.
file has been moved all over the place. What are you talking about?
I brought that up specifically because last week I said I'm ready to go with 7.5. Finally, going to roll it out on Monday this week, and rolled it out to one of our staging servers, which runs route cache, which I don't run on dev, and it spit out a damn nasty error that completely screws me.
So there was a breaking change in it? Is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah, a pointlessly breaking change. I hate it.
what happened? Do you figure it out?
Routes can no longer share a name. Named routes cannot collide.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like maybe you were misusing a behavior, and it's actually a bug fix.
Despite how you implement it. So a get route and a post route used to be able to have the same named route to them, which I used frequently in forms. So now I have to go through every form I have and add the word post to the route name and update every route in my 1,000 route file or files and check for where there's a collision on a route.
Yeah.
Because get and post, you used to be able to say, admin.form.user. And you could have a get and a post route for each one. And because the route tool is totally agnostic to the method, then as long as they had the same endpoint, the URL endpoint, there was no problem.
Yeah, see, that's a tough one because it seems like you were exploiting a bad behavior there. I mean, I think John suffered something similar when he realized he was using
but when his use case makes sense to me now that you're saying it, because I can see doing that.
But it's not the same route, though. That would be.
It is the same route. It's just one's a get and one's a post, and
right.
What you're using to display that it's going to the same place.
And the logic doesn't collide because there is extraneous data in the request that says which route I'm actually referencing. And Laravel resolved this perfectly. It never had a single problem resolving which method I'm trying to call. So I had full systems that had get, put, post, delete, all on the same route.
All on the same named route.
Right, because the named route referred, in my mind, to the object I was affecting.
Yeah, I don't
but
know,
now
man. That seems like a bad practice to me.
Sure, it might be a bad practice, but it's an unnecessary change as well. If you look at the documentation for why he did this, he just did it because it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to do named routes that collide.
Because somebody else was probably affected that had the same named route that had two different endpoints.
Yeah, but what happens then is it just takes the one that's defined last.
Right, but somebody else complained about it, and he's like, well, then we shouldn't allow the same named one, so to prevent somebody from doing that.
That's the thing. Somebody complained about it, inconveniencing them for about 5 minutes, and it cost me 6-7 hours.
6-7 minutes. Come on, it's 6-7 hours.
No, I'm not kidding when I say I have thousands of defined routes. I have thousands. Every single one of them is a named route.
Yeah,
and I have to go through.
That's a tough one for me because it definitely seems like a better practice to me.
It's a better practice, but the framework shouldn't enforce practices if there's no actual problem there.
Okay, so maybe that's one that should have waited for a major version change.
This was a major version change.
Well, then what are you complaining about?
And then 1 week later.
It's a major version change, so they're allowed to break things.
7.6.
That's not major. 7.5 and 7.6 aren't major.
So I'm in the middle of 7.5 update. 7.6 comes out. And here's all these new features that weren't there last week, and now they're here.
Was this route one of them?
No. But it's like it was just when you see a TV show, there's a stack of papers on the guy's desk and his boss walks in and just throws down another stack of papers on top of it.
Right.
That's what maintaining Laravel is turning into. Every week I have to look at the stack of papers, and while I'm looking at it, someone puts more paper on it.
Our chat is split on this. It looks like Gishu is sympathizing with you, but he says that he says that actually in Symfony you have to define them by methods, and
that's how I thought it worked in Laravel until it didn't. Imagine if he says it works in Laravel like that, where you have to define the method, and then all of a sudden it doesn't.
Right.
I thought this was a supported functionality.
Yeah, I get it. I would like to.
Benevolent dictator said no.
Well, actually, I'll go even further than that. He said in the upgrade guide that it was an unofficially documented feature of routes.
Okay.
Route. So he says route unique name. Even though never officially documented, previous Laravel releases allow you to define two different routes with the same name. So it was a feature.
But it was a bad feature. Global variables was a feature at one point. It was a bad idea. So we fixed it. This is kind of the same thing.
This is just a pain in the ass. This is not improving security in some way. This is just screwing with people pointlessly.
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
I think that's going too far. It is fixing potential gotchas of other developers in the future. It screws with...
Okay, that's what the deprecated tag is for.
That's what I would like to see. I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more of, hey, this is getting deprecated.
Right. If you're going to arbitrarily introduce changes, then at least deprecate first. But like right now, I can tell you Taylor doesn't know what's in 7.7, and it's going to come out next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shit show to me. Like that's a total shit show. If you don't know what's in your next minor release and you know it's going to happen next week.
Well, he doesn't,
because it's just like
he just waits till he gets a couple of commits and then pushes.
Yeah, so. I'm going to get like 6 pull requests on Saturday. I'll review them on Sunday, and then I'll push it on Wednesday. Like that's what's going to happen, and that's killing me. Like my company has stricter standards for when we release changes to our product.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Apparently Symfony deprecated. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. I'm just going to say Zion.
What?
Can you pronounce
Zoinky
that?
Zoinks. What are you talking about?
Is it Zoinky Zoinks? Oh, I didn't even do that. You're awesome at this. Zoinky Zoinks. Now that's my favorite name. Zoinky Zoinks. God damn it. I've been calling him Zion this whole time. So apparently Symfony does deprecation. So
of course it does. Symfony does everything right.
Mm.
But my issue now is not only are things getting done wrong, but they're getting rushed out the door without getting the proper checks and balances, causing these backwards breaking changes. I mean, and there's no pre-announcement.
I'll give it. Well, but you said. So this is where I'm getting my disconnect is happening. Though you said that change was part of the 7 upgrade, though, right?
Yes.
Okay,
it was part of the 7 at some point. I don't know when it's in the upgrade docs for 7, but the upgrade docs for 7 get updated with the newest patches.
I gotcha. Okay.
So I don't know where it was introduced, but still, and then the 7.6 introduces the collection until method, string empty methods, string trim methods.
No problem with introducing
middleware
new
skipping.
Features. That's what releases are for.
Except that
you introduce
one of the
new feature, that's when you do it. I mean,
one of the new features might be backwards breaking because the queued listeners had a retry after property that you could reference, And now queued listeners can have a retry after method, which means that if you had already implemented your own retry after method because it wasn't implemented in the queued listener, now it's going to get run when you don't expect it, or it'll get run twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a backwards breaking change. That's a change in the contract
maybe you should
signature.
think about doing Rails development, Thomas. You really seem unhappy.
It bugs me to say that these are point releases or small releases, because that is obviously a backwards breaking change for somebody. It's not just a new feature, it's a fundamental change in the contract that allows for a new method that will get called automatically by something. And if that method already exists...
Right. We've talked about it in the past. Laravel has definitely reached a threshold where they need to have more discipline on their releases. Again, the amount of releases they're doing is just impossible to keep up with. What they're releasing, how they're releasing, seeing things like deprecations, seeing roadmaps of what's coming out, when it's coming out. When we start talking, big implementations, especially the older code gets, it's like this stuff is challenging, man. It's I appreciate what you're saying, Thomas. I mean, we have probably about a dozen or so Laravel applications in all different states because there's just no way to keep them all updated. I mean,
you can't.
Each one is a project that we have to go back and visit and say, okay, how do we get this one up to date? And
we actually just did an interview with somebody talking about that, where they write little websites for clients, and they may have dozens out there, and they're currently in the process of choosing, are they going to go with Laravel Symphony? They've been using their own homegrown one for a long time, but they're outgrowing that and wanting to switch.
Mm.
But this is how WordPress happens.
It's just because it's...
I was excited about that.
I ask you, when is Laravel going to introduce a self-updater, and when are they going to make all the exact same mistakes that WordPress made? Or when are they going to introduce a plugin system that pulls from packages? When does this feature thing stop?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to be able to install plugins or packages as plugins for my Laravel system. Can I just add that? I wrote it up and pushed it as a pull request. Can we see that in 8? Do you know that it's not going to be in 8 if he got on stage and said that Laravel Peak is the package manager for the visual package manager for Laravel?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's turning into WordPress. It's a
there,
problem.
Buddy. Easy there. You're getting a little crazy there.
It's been 5 hours of my day yesterday, and it's been 2 hours of my day today, and I'm not done with it. And 5.6 came out while I was fixing 7.5.
7.6, yeah.
7.6 came out while I was fixing. I am rightfully frustrated.
Real world, man.
And if you look on the docs for Laravel 7.6, Elixir has been marked. The Elixir function has been marked as deprecated now.
There you go. Now you know.
It is a note on the commit log that says this should give Laravel LTS and Laravel stable users a heads up. Now, what is Laravel stable?
I assume whatever's release master. Because I know a lot of people pull from the dev branch.
What crazy psychos.
People that don't have a product in production can do that. Or if it's a home project, you can do that. If you're not making money off of whatever you're putting out there.
Yeah. Thomas,
I'm
so
frustrated.
Man. I'm going to change gears on you. You had your rant.
Please do. I'm going to take my heart pills.
Too soon.
Have you gotten your boss to get you a subscription to PHP Architect yet? I know I don't like cross promoting, but we're going to do some cross promoting today.
I haven't yet.
Man,
I've got a couple things I need to hit him up with.
So we're actually recording the show tomorrow, and I'm reading through the magazine tonight because I've just been a bit too busy to actually read through it. And it's on a topic that I swore from day one I would never try to do this in PHP. And now reading through this article, I'm like, I could totally do this in PHP. It's machine learning. There's a whole article on there on how to do, and it references a package that you can download from Composer to help you with machine learning. And I read the article, and machine learning has always been one of those things like, nope, that's not a PHP thing. I would never even consider using PHP for machine learning. And then I read this article, I'm like, yeah, no, I could totally do that in PHP. Because we've had a client now for some time who's just been desperate to implement some machine learning. And the client's business is actually a reasonable model for machine learning on predictability of where things would go wrong and when they should be patrolling certain areas and that sort of thing.
Is this the reading letters client?
No, it's a different one. This is our parking enforcement client. And like
I
said,
said, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. They have a real use case for where machine learning could come into play of trying to figure out, writing tickets, what's the predictability of ticket getting paid and that sort of thing. So the clients for some time wanted machine learning, and we've been looking into it, and we've been trying to figure out, okay, where and how we're going to implement this. Again, this is where so many of these pieces of these puzzles that we've been working on really come together, because with this article, it even references the fact that a lot of times you're going to realize that you're not capturing all the information you want to do the machine learning, to train your learning engine the way you want to train it. And right away, I whip back to, well, if you event source everything, that's not a problem. So we event source everything. We realize that we want this information, and now we can pump it into machine learning. We got to get event sourcing implemented now.
Oh, fantastic!
I tell you, man, it all ties together. I'm pretty sure I haven't.
If you're event sourcing, you might as well put it on a blockchain so you know that it's immutable.
No. We put event sourcing into CouchDB. We're good. We tie everything together. So yeah, I'm reading through this article, and it's telling you how to use this package to do machine learning in PHP. And yeah, that's one of the things they touched on there. Like, hey, there are going to be situations where you realize you're not capturing the data you need, and you need to think about that stuff. And it's like, oh man, yeah, event sourcing is what you need there. You need oh man, I can't stop thinking about this stuff. This is so much fun. It's like this, as stressful, as absolutely stressful the last month and a half has been. The fact that I've gotten back into actual coding again, and I'm doing real development again, and starting to implement some of these new things that we've talked about for so long. God, man, I fucking love this field, man. This is so much fun. There's like always problems to find, always problems to solve, and always new stuff happening. It's so much fun.
Like, please don't be finding problems, solve them. That's what we do.
Solve them before anybody else. That's the key, man. That's where the money's at. You solve the problem before anybody else can solve it.
Now, the best intro I've seen to machine learning is a video by a guy named Mark Rober. He is an engineer over at the NASA's Space Propulsion Lab, the JPL. And he did a video called "Stealing Baseball Signs with a Phone."
Oh, I saw that. I saw that one.
That to me is the best introductory video on machine learning that you can get.
Yeah.
Because it's something people can understand very quickly, and it breaks down the the places where it works and the places where it doesn't, and how fast it works once it's learning it, once it's learned.
And it's a good use case too. It's a simple one. It's a good use case. So, John, if you're not familiar with this video, this guy writes an application it's on the phone, but it's not using any features of the phone. It's not like he's using the camera or anything. But he then goes, and the point of the application is to steal signs from baseball
from your
coaches.
third baseman, yeah.
Third base coach, yeah. So, he's basically wrote this learning algorithm that figures out like what's the pattern that the third base coach does, and what's the result of that pattern. And it within like an inning or two, he's figured. And understand, this is Little League. This is not like college level or professional level or anything like that. But it probably wouldn't be that hard to
it
scale.
fully worked on professional level.
Yeah. And by like the second inning, he's figured out like the signs, like this guy's going to bunt, or this is a hit and run, and it's like, wow.
Well, no, so the only thing they were calculating for was stealing a base, and the way it worked was he had he had two columns of buttons, one that said the action that was being taken, and one that was where the action was occurring. So there was like tap, wipe, brush, push, stuff like that. So tap elbow, wipe forehead, touch chest, and every time one of the third base coaches did this series of actions, he would copy the series of actions into the phone and then say whether or not the person tried to steal the base.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with baseball, typically what happens is there's an indicator. The sign that follows the indicator is the sign for whatever you need to do. And then there's usually a wipe off. So that allows the coach to give the indicator, give the steal sign, and then wipe the steal sign away, so that the other team doesn't catch on the fact that tapping his head, tapping his chin was a steal. So that's kind of the basic principle. And yeah, to Thomas's point, he's right. I misspoke. It wasn't only looking for steals, and it was.
Well, the interesting thing though is that for a human to see this flurry of activity, there's no way to quickly decode what occurred. Mm-hmm. But for a computer, it just says every time the base was stolen, this chain of events occurred, which means that this chain of events is garbage data. So it had a very binary result to it, but it worked very well. And so if you're interested in machine learning, check that video out, because it's short and it's really good.
You want to throw it in the show notes?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Which we were told we needed to work on more.
Yeah, who's giving you this feedback? Are you going to let us know who the secret shopper is?
Yeah, all of a sudden, John's got a fanboy.
Is it Gishu?
Yeah.
I want to know. Zoinky Zoink? I haven't seen Zoinky Zoink in here before. Now I'm suspicious.
It's a friend of ours. We met him a couple of years ago now at our kid's soccer game, and I know he's an F# developer and works from home, and so we've been friends for a while now, and we've been communicating during this whole lockdown thing. And he sends me some very weird stuff. We'll talk about that off air. It's funny, but anyway, he was talking to me the other day, and I was like, "Why aren't you listening to our show?" Never thinking he would actually do it, because he's not a PHP developer, and he did, and he gave some decent feedback.
Oh, Zoinky Zoink! Look who Zoinky Zoink is.
I see that.
It's Frank. We like Frank. We love Frank.
Wait, why is Zoinky Zoink's Frank?
I don't know. Frank decided to give himself a Zoinky Zoink name. So
I guess so.
Don't
now I'm confused.
I'm confused. I'm Eric.
Moving on. PHP Storm might try to call you back from the depths of your Microsoft code editor. Have you seen 2020.1?
I upgraded. Yeah, I upgraded, I think, this morning, and watched the video about the new features, and I'm super excited about it.
What are the new features?
Me
Oh, I
too.
didn't see the video. Oh, post the video. Is that in?
It's in the link.
Oh, I didn't see a video. What's the new features?
So part 1, native composer.json support. It will parse out and search packages for what you're trying to install. So it will autofill for you and pull the versions and help you out with all that.
Wait,
Autocompletes the sections of your composer.json file. As you're doing your namespaces, it helps with the pathing for you.
do you guys add packages in the actual file? I usually just do the composer require.
I have to do it in the file sometimes.
Really?
But it also supports updating packages via context menu in the editor now as well. So you can actually autocomplete and then right-click and update all packages or install package, everything you need to do.
You could jump to the location of the files just by, I think, alt-clicking on the package name. It'll take you to the vendor directory and where it's located.
Mm-hmm. And find usage.
Never do any of that.
I do that constantly.
Yeah. If I do it, I'm in the code following something. I've never been in a composer package like, what's these files? What do these files look like? I've never had a need for that.
If you have if you have custom commands defined in your composer, you can execute them from within the editor.
That one's really cool.
The big stuff that I think is going to be good is the type tracking. So previously, if I defined 3 objects and then put them in an array, PHP Storm would lose track of what those objects are. It would lose track of what type of object they were, so autocomplete on those objects would be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now...
If you're looping over the array, you would often have to... I would put within the for each loop doc block to say, okay, now this dereferenced variable is this type of object.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now you don't have to do that. Now it keeps track of the type of object. It does that in for eaches. It does that in array map and array filter. It does that in previously initialized arrays. And there's one other place it did it. Somewhere else. Tracking null types.
But beyond that though, if you do already have the doc block to say what the type is, it will remove it for you. It'll say, "Oh, I already know this. You don't need the doc block anymore."
Right.
Which John got me doing this week as well. He's like, you're defining the return type, so take it out of the doc block. I'm like, well, I just have it there for documentation. He's like, no, take it out.
You're introducing potential error through drift, so you don't want it as documentation there.
What is the good?
I was going to say any of the packages that create your documentation from your doc blocks should be taking into account your return type or your parameter types.
I'm curious about what the PHP debug and HTTP client is. What is that? You no longer need to bother with parameters. Go ahead. You know it?
To a point. So you can spin up and do HTTP scratch files to hit your endpoints.
Mm-hmm.
And now from within there, you can turn on debugging, and it will send the cookies that are necessary to start up your debugger.
Have you ever seen that feature, Tom? That was one that blew me away. I think I saw it at PHP World last year. All the stuff you can do in a scratch file in Storm. Have you?
No, I've seen some of it.
It's crazy, man.
Tim Lytle.
Yeah, that's right. It was Tim. Yeah, it's crazy everything you can do in the scratch file. I never use it. But I saw Tim's talk. I'm like, that's insane. I need to start doing it. Then I don't do it.
Proper type passing for the _get magic method So if you're using that now and don't have a type defined, it will try to figure the type out.
Oh, this is what I need right here. Advanced spell check and grammar corrector now. I am a grammar idiot, man. This is this something I need to enable, or is it enabled by default? Jesus, I need to
Should
get
be.
that.
I think it just replaces the existing spell checker.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool.
I like the fact in terminal because I use that all the time in PHP Storm. You can now split them vertically and horizontally versus having multiple tabs.
You could always do that.
No, not the terminal window. You can in the editor
Oh,
window.
the terminal window. Oh, yeah, that is helpful. Yeah. Maybe I'll use the terminal
Because
more often.
I often have one. I abuse Docker in ways I'm probably not supposed to, but I always have a terminal window for my local system and then a terminal window where I'm shelled into my Docker container to do whatever I want to do in there.
Yeah. But you do that within Storm, obviously, is what you're saying. See, I never use the terminal in Storm, and it's just muscle memory for me. I just tab over to my iTerm. I should really start to use, because I get too many terminals open, so I really should start to use the one, like, especially the ones that are project specific. Like if I'm working on this project and I need a terminal for this project, put it in Storm and not clutter up my iTerm sessions with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been using it more and more for a while now, and the fact that it's a quick keyboard shortcut for me to pop it open, I can close it back down and not worry about it. I've been really liking that.
What is it? Oh, there's an SSH, unified SSH configuration. What is that? All right, now I gotta watch this video. See, I didn't even watch the video, so I did the upgrade, but I didn't even bother to see what was all added to it. So I'll check it out, man. That's cool.
The new Git interface.
The new
and branches workflow.
Oh, this is all in PHP Storm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge update.
Let's segue then. You talked about the new Git interface. Did you see the new GitHub pricing plan? Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, man.
So I had a lengthy conversation with some of the DiegoDev guys about what's going on with GitHub and Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And my end conclusion is that Microsoft is going to be turning to Linux server management soon.
Well,
and
they already have.
Soon,
I mean, that's what their cloud is.
Well, when I say soon, I mean in the next 10 years, you're going to be looking at Linux clients.
I mean, we've been speculating that for a while.
Well, I've got some new insights into it, though.
Yes, you're an insider.
The big one is that they released their new version of DirectX, which is their 3D graphics processing software.
Mm-hmm.
And the previous one was DirectX 12. The new one, which is going to be released alongside the new Xbox console, is called DirectX 12 Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me indicates that they already have a DirectX 13 in production or in development that they've released to certain third parties, but that it's not going to be done in time for the console, which is going to be a 7 or 8 year product.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is that the new DirectX is involved in a Linux kernel-based system, and that the next big version of Windows will be a Linux-based desktop similar to OS X.
Mm-hmm.
That is my theory.
That would be interesting. I'd be interested to see that. I still don't care.
So what you're saying is I now need to go on my calendar 7 or 8 years in the future and say, check back to this date to see if Thomas was right.
And you know he'll do it.
You've done that before.
You know he'll
do
it.
Do it again. I dare you.
What was it? I said Microsoft would buy Ubuntu or something.
Nope. I had said that Microsoft would acquire JetBrains.
Oh, JetBrains. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That would actually. I said somebody should buy JetBrains. I forget who it was. But yes. And I still think Microsoft is going to make a play on Ubuntu. I still have that out there. That's out there in the ether. All right. It's late. I'm tired. I'm sick of looking at you too.
Do I have one more thing? No, I
Go
don't.
ahead.
Nope, I don't. I just had to check my Trello board first. Something that John doesn't even know what it is.
Okay. All right.
As I'm looking at it right now.
What are we talking about? I'm lost. I don't see anything on the Trello board.
Well, there's nothing now. I moved it.
Oh. All right, that's it. Episode 186 is in the can. I'm your host, Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it
John.
ugly.
Thomas, you're editing this week.
John just volunteered to edit by doing that.
You complained because last week I was too soon. I can't figure this out. I was waiting for the sign
I
from
didn't
Eric. He
complain
never
about that.
gave one.
It wasn't us complaining about being too soon. No, I think
No.
you're getting your worlds mixed up there, John.
I edited that in 30 seconds. I had all of us talking exactly in the right order.
It's crazy, right? The new Zen. Oh, let me kill that. Actually, kill local, kill Zencaster. We'll keep streaming for a little bit longer here. Let me kill Zencaster.
Can you archive all the old stuff in Dropbox?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
pay for Dropbox Premium for me?
You can change it to cloud only.
Oh yeah, can't you do that now with the free version where you can just say, hey,
yeah,
this.
yeah,
keep
but
this
there's
on
still an upper limit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll move it.
It's not a local hard drive space issue. It's my cloud limit is 2 gigs or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll move stuff. I don't even remember where I'm moving the stuff to, but I'll move the stuff. I'll move it out for you. But yeah, the new Zencaster, the whole syncing thing, really.
That's perfect.
Oh gosh, it's great, isn't it?
You know what they changed?
Mm-mm.
It's mono.
What do you mean? Oh, is it?
The audio tracks are mono tracks.
Are you sure it didn't sound? It wasn't mono when I played it back. It was in stereo. Maybe I'm not.
Mono just means that there's one channel through both ears.
Oh, okay, all right.
And our normal recordings, they used to be on Zencast. They used to be 2-channel.
Right.
Now they're just 1 channel.
I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. To be clear. Oh well, it's worth it. It's worth it. I mean, it's not like we're doing music where we need the stereo, certain levels in one ear and certain levels in another. We're just a measly old podcast, so it works fine for us.
Yeah, I think stereo captures like room volume noise better, but like we don't care about that production level.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest, we don't care about production levels.
That's not true. I've been looking at getting a ring light for me, a beauty light.
My kid has one of those for classes and stuff. I'm thinking about stealing it from her and see if it makes a difference. I mean, it's hard it's hard to make this look any better, but I gotta try. I don't know what I'm saying. Thomas, never go into client work because every client wants a different program to do stuff with.
Don't worry, I'm not.
Okay, don't ever do it.
I applied for a job at Remax though.
You don't need to be applying for any jobs. Remax, the
Real
realtors?
estate.
Yeah.
They're a Laravel shop.
Are they really?
Yeah.
But you hate Laravel. You just spent half a show complaining about Laravel. Why would you apply for a Laravel shop?
Because it can be fixed. The issue can be fixed.
Yeah. No, it can't.
If he only does
Thomas.
if he only does
If.
feature releases every 3 months or 2
If.
months,
Not happening.
that's crazy. And there's no oversight other than just Taylor.
Well,
Like,
it's his project.
I'm considering trying to get something into Laravel core that is a fundamentally massive security flaw.
Why would you say we're still streaming, man? Why would you even say that?
Because I could. Right? Does anyone doubt that I could?
No. I actually don't doubt that you could.
I honestly believe I could get something into Laravel core that was an obvious security flaw and it would make it to a production release. Honestly.
No, Thomas. I'm gonna stop the stream before you do more self harm here.
Before I start.
Please do, because I just want to vent about something.
Thanks to all our Patreons. I always forget to mention that. And at some point, I'm gonna be able to log into Patreon again and see who you guys are. But thank you for your support. See you guys next week.
Good night.